So, welcome back to the Girlfriends GodSip podcast. I am your host, Shantae Harris. As you all know, this is a safe space. Our goal is only to uplift and never tear down. Today, it's been heavy on my heart this week. The news about the 16-year-old young man who went missing in the Baton Rouge area. I think it was heavy on my heart initially because I feel like so many of our youth are just leaving here too soon, far too soon. Then I tried to look at it from a different perspective. The more information that came out in the news, they said that allegedly, right now, the young man died really defending a friend who was in an abusive situation with the alleged killer. I thought to myself, as a parent, I know it doesn't lessen the pain of losing your child. How awesome is it to know that, like, the young man that you raised was willing to stand up for one of his peers and be that line of defense for her. Like I said, I know it doesn't ease any of the pain. My condolences goes out to her, to that young lady, to that young man and his family, also to that young lady because she's now lost a friend. There's some guilt that comes along with it. I do hope that in the end, she's in a much better space and place from the whole situation. The next thing that I have been pondering on is life in my 40s. Like, what does that look like for me? For me, it is a journey of healing post divorce, what life now looks like in my 40s in general, trying new things, returning to old hobbies, transparency, and then co-parenting. At the closure of it all, I think the biggest thing for me is just learning to continue trusting God. Just to touch on learning life after divorce, I've learned that healing isn't a destination. It's something you choose repeatedly. That means that emotions don't come up, that the emotions won't always stop coming up or feeling like there was a part of your life that you might have failed. It's just understanding, in spite of all of that, there is sunshine at the end. There's a life post divorce, especially when you have kids. I think the biggest thing for me is just learning to let go of survival mode because, the weight of now everything falling on you because I am the domiciliary parent for my kids. That comes with a lot of responsibility. For the longest, it was like I wasn't really living. I was more or less just surviving, worried about the future, worried about what if this happens or what if this goes wrong. I really got to a point where it was, like you can't live the rest of your days like this. I'm embracing thriving and living more than just surviving because part of that goes back to learning that at the end of the day, God is going to make sure that me and my kids are covered. I don't have to try to I don't have to try to fill the inadequacies that exist when you go from a two-parent household to a one-parent household. Bottom line, I'm just learning to understand that divorce isn't the end of my story. It's actually just another chapter. New beginnings are always welcome as long as I'm open and willing to embrace that. Now, with that being said, what am I embracing in my 40s? I must say my priorities in my 40s are much different than they were in my 20s or even my 30s. I thought I was prioritizing life and balancing motherhood and self care all in one in my 30s. Since I've gotten to my 40s, it has not even touched the surface on just how much peace comes along with knowing, like you don't have to have it all figured out or thinking that you have to be the only one, like planning for your future. It has been so therapeutic and so peaceful and so stressless, just learning to just live life as it comes, re-embracing some of those things that I once loved and enjoyed doing. Then over time, like as a single parent, or just in general, as you age, your responsibilities just change. So, getting back to enjoying some of those things that I like to do. One of the other things that I can honestly say about being in my 40s now is that I prioritize peace over proving a point. I am not going to waste my time going back and forth with anybody at this stage in life. It's not to say that I don't care, it's just that I value peace. Sometimes peace means I'm okay with us not necessarily agreeing to see things a certain way or to see things the same way, still honoring like my boundaries and how I see things as well, while being open to accepting that everybody wasn't raised with the same background. A different perspective doesn't mean that you're right and they're wrong, or that they're right and you're wrong. It's really just finding that common middle ground and understanding that at the end of the day, as long as the common goal is still shared, it's okay with the route that you arrive at it. And then lastly, I think in my 40s, time has become my most valuable currency. You see people leaving here left and right. One thing that I can honestly say that I'm realizing is we only get the now. We can't just be so focused on preparing for the what ifs, the woulda, shoulda, couldas, that we forget life is meant for living right now. Now, getting into trying new things. Like I said, I'm sitting here at a restaurant. In the middle of a restaurant, I'm sure people are looking at me. I'll be honest, unless I look up and focus on them, they're not existent to me right now. I'm just learning to embrace who I am, whose I am, being comfortable in the skin that I am in. With that being said, I used to, everybody who knows me, or people that grew up with me, they know I play violin, they know I like poetry, all the things art wise that like, we were taught as younger adults trying to plan for our future. Like some of those things you would have to put on the back burner. So I did because, of course, like they say, when you were a child, you did childish things. You know, once you get older, you put away those childish things. I don't believe art is childish. I think art is therapeutic. So I was invited to play for the symphony in Baton Rouge. I think I'm gonna take the guy up on that offer because it's like, why not? What else? What else are you doing that prevents you from being able to do this? Plus, I think it would be absolutely amazing for my kids to see like, real time what their mom used to do. So I said, let me pull out the violin. I need a new bow because my current bow is done for, but and the strings might need to be replaced as well on my violin. I'm going for it full throttle because again, it's about enjoying and living life. I stepped out of my comfort zone, which I say my comfort zone. I'm not a shy person. I have never did poetry in front of a live crowd. I've never performed my poetry in front of a live crowd. Now, what I have done is said my poetry in the classroom setting or like a group setting of intimacy with people that I probably already knew or were familiar with. This past Thursday, I stepped out of my comfort zone. I went to poetry night down at Main Lobby in Baton Rouge. Every third Thursday, they have poetry night. So I went the first month. I was like, this is so cool. Like, people there are amazing. The community is inspirational, motivational. Like they are very supportive and they just make you feel welcome there. So this past month, when I went last week, I was like, when I return, I'm gonna get up there and say a poem. I even got my friend involved. I was like, because she was like, she does poetry too. I was like, and you're gonna say your poem too. Guess what, y'all? We both did it. Like fear, there was none. And it felt really, really, really good to just be able to enjoy that setting and be able to perform without even feeling judged. Because even with my poetry, it had a lot of healing and therapeutic moments that I didn't even know would come out in my poetry these days. If you need encouragement to do some of those things that you've put on the back burner, this is your sign. This is me telling you, go for it, get back into doing it. Just enjoy it for what it is. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you just start, like that oftentimes is the catalyst to stepping back into something that you were once great at that you just put to the back burner. Something else that I have realized too, like just getting back to doing some of the things that I want to do or grow in confidence. Even me sitting here right now in the middle of this restaurant doing my podcast, confidence grows from action a lot of times, not just planning, actually doing, not just waiting on that moment where you just feel like all the stars have aligned and it looks perfect and all these things. You can just do it right now. You don't have to wait on the invitation. You don't have to wait for everything to look aesthetic or whatever it is. The things that we tell ourselves, honestly, talk ourselves out of doing something that oftentimes God has already told us to do. He's just waiting on your yes and your willingness to do it. Let that be a sign again to just go out and start doing the things that have been placed on your heart for you to do. Transparency. I've been talking a lot about transparency here lately. I think more so because the people closest to me know like my life is an open book. I don't feel the need to hide things. I don't feel the need to oftentimes sugarcoat anything. I'm just okay like being me. And it doesn't mean that I think I'm perfect or that my way is always the right way. It's there's a certain peace and comfort that comes along with just being transparent. Nobody can go and tell a story that about me that I haven't already told, or nobody can shame me or make me feel any kind of way about my past or a decision that I made because I live life transparently. What you see is what you get. So I think that brings me to social media where it's like I'm trying to curate a space for just genuine, authentic, real people. And I do understand like, a lot of times social media is just a moment, which I understand that I'm not going to share every single moment of my life with you. I like to protect some of those parts and keep them intimate, especially when it comes to my children. For the most part, I want my social media to you to feel like I can connect with her or I can bond with her over this experience and feel like somebody sees you or somebody gets me. That's my ultimate goal. So honestly, I get a lot of calls and people telling me about how they enjoy my content. I am appreciative of it. When I started out on that journey, it truly was to just impact one life. God told me I'm going to impact many. I've always known it. I'm, I'm, I think I've always known it. It was almost like hearing it is just like that confirmation to really just keep going, put it out there. I used to plan content, y'all. I don't plan content at all anymore. It is literally like what comes to mind. Either at that moment, I try to hurry up and write down, or in that split second of a thought might pop into my mind, I'm just like, let me go ahead and do that without the fakeness of it. Like trying to stage those moments. That's my two cents on transparency. I hope that my transparency and my willingness to be open and honest with you truly invokes and inspires something in you as well. Now, with that being said, y'all, post divorce, co parenting, what does that look like? For me, I am truly learning to separate my emotions from decisions. At the end of the day, the biggest goal for me is making sure that the kids are okay. My personal feelings toward the other parent, they have no space in my life anymore. Even just being brought into rage baiting situations, I used to be the I was being controlled instead of me actually being the thermostat that controls my feelings and my emotions or the things that I say. Nowadays, I stand my ground when it comes to personal boundaries, but for the most part, it's just kind of like I, emotional reactions. Like you can't get that out of me anymore. I value my peace over anything else these days. That's the most one of the most valuable things to me right now, in addition to my time. That's valuable to me. Protecting my peace, but I'm not compromising my children at the extent of compromising my peace. I am learning to accept what I can control, choosing consistency over conflict. For me, that just means I do what I can in my home that I control. What happens at the other parent's house is on them. I have no, now if it becomes a situation where I feel like my kids are in danger or something, that's a different conversation that will be had. But for the most part, those kids are okay. They're not going to live the same way in my house that they live at the other parent's house. I don't mean the standard of living that's non-negotiable for me, but I mean is the things are trying to persuade the other person to go out and do things with the kid that like you just quite naturally do as a mother. I am no longer trying to force those interactions or even cultivate their relationship with the other parent. I can only control and cultivate the relationship with my kids. And that's been therapeutic and peaceful for me, learning to just let go and accept what is. What will be. What will not be, just will not be, and that's okay. Finally, this brings me to the biggest part. I've always said that I'm trusting God. It doesn't always feel like I'm trusting God sometimes. And I start to question the things that I know He's putting in my spirit to do or act on. I can honestly say I wasn't always so steadfast or so quick to like move when He said move. But these days, y'all, I'm trusting Him. He has not steered me wrong yet. If you just give it a chance, I promise you, He will not steer you wrong either. He's truly been faithful in every season. So, the biggest thing is learning one step at a time is still progress. It doesn't have to be the big picture. As long as you know there's a goal that you're working towards, whether it takes you a day, an hour, a week, a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years, trusting that one step at a time, God is still ordering all those steps for me. Just looking back, just taking that retrospective look at life, realizing that even back then, God's hand has always been on my life. Even when in that time it didn't feel visible, not really understanding why certain decisions had to go the way they did or certain things didn't work out the way they did. I now can see that God's hand has been on my life this entire time. Y'all, it is so amazing to look back and see the protection that came with that, the lessons that came with it, the blessings that came with it, all the things. So, yeah, I am going to close out by saying these three things. Your current season doesn't define your future. So don't get caught up in what things look like right now. Just look towards the future. Give yourself permission to evolve. Don't be so stuck in how something should look that you miss out on what God is trying to get you to receive. Lastly, trust that God is still writing your story. He's writing our story daily, minute by minute. He's still writing our story. I truly believe the best days are still yet to come in my life. I hope that you know that for yourself as well. Y'all know I like to close out with some kind of thought provoking question. Here's my question of the day. What's one lesson your current season is teaching you that you think will serve you in your next season? Please share, comment in the comments about this. As always, I hope that you have a blessed and wonderful day. The goal in life, truly, for me these days, is less chaos and more chemistry. I will see you all next week for another episode of Girlfriends and GodSip. Be blessed.